Okay, good morning. Today's the 10th of November 2023 and I'm going to go through my plan for today. I've got some good levels and we are just going to look at the economic news for today. Today we've got one high important event at 10 AM, so be wary at 10 AM. We have consumer sentiment, and so if you're in a trade around 10 o'clock today, then just be a bit wary. So on my screen is the MES, which is the S&P index futures, the 1 hour. And start with the daily because we had our first red day for, I mean, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. And we've got some key levels on the daily to watch for. We've got this area of demand, and yesterday we touched the bottom of that area of demand, and today in the pre-market we've come through it, but we just kind of touched the 8 moving average and we've bounced from that area. So we got this boxed area to keep an eye on. I'm still favouring a bit of a long. You can look at the RSI as well. In fact, on the hourly, the RSI, which is this indicator at the bottom, we were pretty much overbought around here, so this area here, and when we did finally get the sell-off we've been waiting for, we kind of went into the oversold, and now we're back in the middle, 50 midway in the RSI, and really probably want to see a bit more follow through and or hold down here a bit longer while the sell-off continues. But we do have this gap below as well, so it brings me up to my level, what I'm waiting for. So if we do sell off today, I'm looking for a bounce off of the 200 moving average for a push back up. So this entire area to watch for, 43.33 down to 43.26, is a bounce area. And going back to the daily, we could just be looking at just a nice pullback. We've got a few areas we could pull back to. Obviously we touched the 8, but quite looking 43.25 area as a pullback area, and that's also the 20 moving average as well on the daily. So it's an area to be watching for, and that's why I quite like it, and that'll be a healthy pullback in an uptrend. So we could see a few red days before we continue the trend. On the ES, we've not been able to break that pivot yet, so that's a key area to watch for a break. We came close, touched the bottom area of that supply zone and rejected. But if you look at the SPY on the daily, the SPY did actually clear that area and put in a new higher pivot. So that area is now, so this is like the area high pivot, and that's why I quite like a potential up move, because we've broken that pivot and potentially we may be looking at an inverted head and shoulders. And this could be the neckline we're looking at potentially. So we've also got the point of control on here as well, which also acts as where it shows us where the concentrated volume is. So going back to the ES, I'll come on to SPY in a second. So ES, I'm looking for a bounce around this area which we just discussed, so 43.26 area. So that's a bounce area, potentially a higher risk, lower probability bounce if we come back down to where we were in the pre-market. But we've already put in a double bottom in that area, and even I watched it this morning. In fact, I was debating whether I wanted to go long at that area. The Qs was a real good double bottom. If you look at the Qs or the Nasdaq chart, it came in there, nice double bottom on the Qs, and then so that was a double bottom, and then that was one I was watching. These two bottoms I was watching on the 5-minute chart, and I did consider getting in, but I really only want to play regular hours. So my next level, so we've got the bounce there. We've got a higher risk bounce at 43.57, and then I quite like the break and continuation of a 43.85. It's an area of confluence as well, so it could also be a reject area. So this area here. So this entire area is an area of confluence. We've got tops of candles, tops of candles, tops of candles, bottoms of candles. So the ceiling became the floor. Still the floor, we broke down. Potentially we could still be the ceiling. So we've got a rejection at 43.85, and we're quite close to that in the pre-market now, so that will be a high risk rejection. And obviously you can see we've got this 50 moving average on the hourly as well. If we can break beyond this, then I quite like a break and retest up to 4,400, and I still quite like the break and retest of 4,400. You can see we've tested it a few times and tried to push through, came back down, and how many times do we need to be knocking at the door before we finally break 4,400? So that's kind of what I'm watching for. We've got a target area of 44.28, and that could be if we do break 4,400 and continue to stay above that area, then that could be our first target or target area, which is also an area of supply. So potential rejection then at 44.29. Similar. So basically, some of these levels are similar to what we've been looking at all week, because we've just been sitting there waiting for the rejection up there. And then on the grand scheme of things, we've got this downward trend line, and if we do see some up movement, then potentially we've got a rejection at 44.65 to complement this. Last time we came up there, we saw some big moves down, and it coincides not just with the trend line, downward trend line, but also an area of confluence. Tops of candles, bottoms of candles, a failed breakdown, another bottom of candles. So potentially it's an area of confluence, so we could see it come up to there and reject, or we might just see it do that kind of figure. And don't forget, it's that time of year where we start heading into end of year, and I hate the term, but the Santa rally effect, where we see just a continual buying into Christmas, and that could be where we're heading towards, but we won't know. Even though my mind's still set on a long trade, I've got a long bias, because we're still in the uptrend. We're just going sideways at the moment, and potentially this could be just a flag pattern. I only want to play the chart, and I want to play what I see on the chart. So play the levels, and if the level is not successful, then take a quick stop or a tight stop and play the next level. So that's basically ES. I'm just going to recap my levels again. So I'm looking for a higher risk. We moved quite away from there when I looked earlier, so not really a high risk. A bounce at 43.57, 43.56 area. Looking at a rejection at 43.85, higher risk rejection, area of confluence, or a breakthrough and retest. And that's a higher probability retest because we are still in the daily and hourly uptrend. We've got a rejection area up here at 44.16 to 44.28. So we'll play with that at a time. And 4400 we've held and held and held. And if we do get back up there again, I quite like the idea of it breaking through, coming back, retesting and pushing up. So that entire area. And then we're watching 43.26 for a bounce. And if we do break down through this area, then I want to go short. So I'm watching for a break, retest, maybe just take one contract or test just a small position as we break through, because we've got a big gap to fill, which is this area of void. Okay, that's it really for MES or ES. Let's look at SPY. Exactly the same. We've got the bounce down here at 433. If we can break below that and retest the area, I quite like the breakdown to fill this gap. 430 is a potential target if we do break down, and it's also a bounce area and we've got the 200 moving average down at 426 if we can get down to that area. On the long side, the bounce off a 433 area and the break and retest above this 50 moving average, 436 for the long. Also, we could watch 436 to 437 as a potential rejection area as well, but that's with confirmation. And then 438.50 as a reject area too. So that's it for SPY. Looking at Qs. Same levels we've been watching. Area confluence here at 3. Is that still a good area? 372, yeah, 372.76 is a potential rejection area. Obviously, we've got yesterday's high at 374.80 as a rejection. If we can get below this area, which is 369.20, 369.30, then we could watch for a potential breakdown. $368 is a bounce area and area confluence as well, this area here. So we've got a bit of resistance, but support below if we do watch for the breakdown. But below that area for rejection, above that area for a bounce. And if we get right down to it, I quite like 361, 362 area as a bounce. Nasdaq. Notice I was stair stepping. See, this is another level we've had in place for some time, and it's kind of hovered around that area as well. And that's why I quite like that long earlier, because I was watching the Nasdaq for this double bottom. We got this area we stair stepped, we came up, stair stepped, came down, kind of a stair step. Are we going to go back up and continue like that? So rejection area. Exactly where the point of control is, 15,363. So 15,363 to 15,400 for rejection. Got the high rejection as well. See the bigger picture. Yeah, this area, that area there. So 15,441 as a rejection area. That's a double top. We've already rejected it. So be a bit wary if we come back up. 15,400 could look for a break and retest to continue to trend up. And then we've got this big gap above until we get to 15,600, 15,650. And bounce wise, we've got an area confluence where I just put in 15,150. This area here, if we can come back down, and obviously same as before, if we can break below and then close below on the 5 minute, look for a confirmation signal, then maybe we can push for a trend move back down. But we're currently coming in for this break and retest. Looks this area here. So we've broken it down, we're coming up. So what used to be the floor is now becoming the ceiling. So potentially around this area you can look for a rejection. Okay, oil, and then we're pretty much done. 5 minute looks nasty. Okay, so we're putting in this kind of pattern. You could see it continue before we push up. So the good thing is that we're looking slightly stronger because we've put in a higher low, and then we just need to break this key area here. So if we can get over 77, maybe we can watch 77.98 for as a potential long area, a break and retest. We might have to fine tune So that level's there for a reason. That's the bottom of those candles. So let's make a defined adjustment. So I'm looking over here, not much volume. So if we come back and see where that left us, there you go. Maybe I should use that level in the first place. Came down, we sat around it, broke down, look at that, we came back up, retested that level, rejected, and this time this could be the break and retest there. So 77.28, break and retest long. So I like the retest because if you go for the breakout, it could just be a fake breakout and look a bit like that and come back down. But if you see it coming up and then come back down into that area with a tail, then that's the retest, and like that's a higher confirmation trade. So that's why I quite like the retest. If you want to put more risk on it, you could just put a small size there and then add on the retest. So that's one way to play that. Sometimes I do that. I just take a small size and look to add. So that's the only play I can see on oil. It's the break and retest of 77.28 to 77. Yeah, 77.28. That's the only trade I can see. Lastly, gold. Still don't quite like gold. Looks weak now. Let's see what happens. We've got an area. It's in an area of confluence right now, and that's based on the tops there, bottoms are here, and obviously coming into the bottom there. Double bottom tails means we've got buyers in this area holding this level. But this kind of play, it's like an inverse cup and handle. Yeah, I don't see a trade at the moment. Potentially we're in a very high risk bounce area. We could take the bounce with confirmation. What's it look like on the daily? Look at that. Okay, so that makes it a bit different. We are below the 20, we are below the 8, but we're right on the 200 moving average and above the 50. So a bounce here is more probable. Okay, so maybe we can take the daily as a swing above 1965 for a bounce high. Look at the volume now, we've got low volume, and I suppose we have got a bottom tail here, so we did test it, and that candle is higher volume than the previous day. So we have got buyers in this area, and it's only pre-market volume, so let's see what day brings. So there's no trade at the moment on oil, I don't think. On gold, apart from a higher risk bounce, but we are coming off. This is the 200 moving average right here on the daily. So we come in there once, come back twice, and if we can hold the 200 on the daily, if we could break that area 1968, 1970, then we could see a break and retest high. We've got to get across over this pivot as well, so we could be potentially. Yeah, no, there's not much. No, I don't. For now, I'm going to avoid gold, and there's quite a lot of resistance above. So I was only really interested in gold if it broke out of this zone here, and it tried to twice, but it couldn't stay above it for more than a few hours, and I was waiting for the break and retest. But now it's breaking down. I may look to revisit it if we come back up to this area again. But right now, it's looking weak, and it's got to get above these areas to really consider a long. Okay, that's it really. Back to MES. So I'll just leave this on so you can see my levels for today. Might want to screenshot it or something. Bounce at 43.26, higher probability off the 200 and an area where we when we last came down there, we saw, look at this big reaction, so that's why I quite like this area. Higher risk bounce, even though we've had a double bottom from there already today in the pre-market. And so I like the bounce down at 43.57. Pre-market break and retest might be on, but I quite like the break and retest of 43.85, or a potential high risk rejection as the area of confidence. Tops there, bottoms there, and bottoms there. 400 high possible rejection area. Got this big concentrated volume as well at 43.96, but I quite like the break and retest along. And that's it really. And if we do make it above yesterday's high, then we've got a rejection of 44.28. I think they're the only levels I really like. Highest probability levels today for me are a bounce off of 43.24, 26, that area. And a break and retest of 4400. They're the two I'm watching for. So long bias, I know that. Break and retest here. I may look for scalps as well. So maybe at the moment, if it's a short, it's going to have to be a scalp because we're still in an uptrend. So maybe a scalp off of these levels and a scalp bounce as well at the levels you see below. But they're the levels I'm watching. Okay, so hopefully this video's helped you. Lastly, SPX 4400 is just above, so if we are going long, but bear in mind we've got SPX 4400, just something I want to add in because that acts as natural resistance. So if I'm long ES or SPY, then we may see, if we haven't broken over 4400 on the SPX, we may see this as a rejection area. And last time we got close to it, we had this big rejection down. So basically everything aligns up. So if the SPY is above that 4400, if ES is closes above 4400, SPX closes above 4400, and going back to MES is above key levels as well, then it might be worth going long. So that's something to keep an eye on. But bearing in mind, just keep an eye on SPX anyway, because that is an area of resistance up here, 4400. Okay, thank you for watching, and don't forget news at 10 o'clock, so be wary if you're in a trade. Okay, thanks for watching, have a nice weekend, and trade safe.